This week is going to be a very popular week to play your free hit. So let's have a look at how a free hit team would look like for game week 33. But before we get started, you guys should know the drill by now. Make sure you guys leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. And let's get straight into it discussing free hit 33. For those of you that don't know, this was a strategy that I was heavily considering because first of all, I think this is a brilliant week to play your free hit. And secondly, this is something that I think a lot of people have talked about regarding the FPL community, where they said free hit 33 would not outscore, let's say, a benched boost team in 33, which is probably the case, but there is still good opportunities to catch up on, let's say, the bench boost teams this week. If you go with a couple, let's say, differentials, couple combinations, which I think a lot of people are not going to go with, especially those that play the wildcard in 32. But anyway, let's start with the defense. And one thing you'll realize with this team, I'm going big on certain teams. One of those teams is Leeds. As you guys can see with my team, I've got double Leeds defense. Let's start with Darlow. If we're looking at defensive clean sheet odds for the double game week, this graphic here, Leeds have a 52% chance of keeping at least one clean sheet. Now, the team that are highest is Manchester City, and there's probably other assets that we want to pick from Manchester City, but from Leeds, I don't mind going with Darlow because obviously he has a good chance of getting save points as well. Picked up a couple against Manchester United as well yesterday. And I've also gone with Goodmanson. Now, a lot of people might be Goodmanson, they might not be sure. First of all, when we're looking at baseline bonus points, Goodmanson is much better than the likes of, for example, a Bogle, which is obviously, let's say, another person from that Leeds backline that people are looking at. So that's something that stands out to me. Secondly, on a free hit, you can kind of chance it a bit. For example, if it was a normal team, you would probably go with a Defcon guy. But on a free hit, you're trying to get lucky for, in this case, 2 games. Why not go with a fullback that we know has a brilliant cross in him, has got a couple assists, for example, this season? I would lean towards Goodmanson on a free hit. That's just my personal opinion. Let me know if you guys disagree. I know a lot of people are looking at Strauch or maybe a Beagle. I think Goodmanson is who I would go with on a free hit. And then the other 2 defenders to join him. Now, this is where it gets very tough because of the time that I'm recording this video, a couple minutes ago, it's been confirmed that Iraola will now be leaving Bournemouth at the end of the season. And those sort of things can lead to either 2 things. Either the players kind of galvanize and try to give Iraola the best send-off, or, listen, these players know the manager's not going to be here next year. What's the point of trying? So, it's going to be very interesting to see the Bournemouth that turn up. But to be honest, the last 10 games, Bournemouth are unbeaten in the Premier League. They've picked up some very good results. Their football has been, let's say, a lot more defensive in recent weeks. Maybe since the departure of Semenyo, you're seeing Bournemouth keep a couple more clean sheets, even though a lot of them have been very fortunate. There have been a lot of draws in there. Of course, they beat Arsenal last week. But more, the reason why I'm still going with Hill and Senesi is, first of all, they're great for Defcon. Their floor is just so high in terms of, in both these games, Senesi and Hill could get Defcon. They might be starting on a floor of 80 points. And then you're working your way up or down depending on goals conceded. If they keep a clean sheet, for example, on a free hit, that's not too bad. I know I've spoken about, for example, like Trufe in terms of attacking fullback, especially when it was in regards to Leeds. But I feel like the reason why I'm leaning towards the centre-backs for Bournemouth rather than the fullbacks is the centre-backs are just more likely to get Defcon than the Leeds centre-backs. So I'm going to go with Senesi and Hill. And Senesi, by the way, very good aerial presence in the box. He'll obviously take set throw-ins as well. So there's obviously that odd chance that he could get an assist. But that's how the back line is looking like. Of course, on the bench, I've got Van Heck and Kadioglu. I really wouldn't go with a Brighton defence. Tottenham away in the relegation battle is going to be hard to call. And then Chelsea at home. Listen, you expect Chelsea to score against Brighton, let's be honest. So I'm leaning towards against it. Van Heck is obviously decent for Defcon. Kadioglu is not really going to get Defcon. So that's how I would line up personally in the back line. Let me know what you guys think. And let's have a look at the midfield. And now on to the midfield on a free hit. I'm only backing 2 sides. And that's Manchester City and that's Chelsea. Let's start with the Manchester City lot. Semenyo and Cherki. Listen, City are the team with everything to play for right now. City are the team with all the momentum in the title race. And Arsenal at home, Burnley away, is not a bad set of fixtures. For example, listen, the Arsenal game is going to be very, very difficult. That's going to be title deciding in a way. But that Burnley game, you can see City scoring 3 or 4 goals in that game. Burnley are relegated pretty much. Manchester City are going to obviously, especially if they beat Arsenal, want to up the goal difference even further, because obviously it's getting very, very tight for goal difference between those two sides as well. I'm going to go with the Manchester City boys. I think everything is going through Turkey right now in that Manchester City side. Pep has finally found the right formula in terms of benching Marmoush. The balance in the team is so much better with Semenyo more out wider, let's say. Cherki in the number 10, Doku on the left. Haaland is obviously getting a bit more chances in front of goal. Is looking a lot better for Manchester City in terms of the balance point of view. And that's why on a free hit, you might want to chance it with Ryan Cherki when everything's just going through him. And some of the assists that he had against Chelsea, sensational. And obviously, we know Semenyo can obviously pop in with goals here and there. So those two will be on my free hit. If Nico O'Reilly is confirmed fit, I think I would probably still go with Nico O'Reilly over Cherki. Just because we know Nico O'Reilly's positioning is so high up in terms of he's getting goals. And there's a reason. His positioning is just a joke, even when he's playing left back. But for now, even if there's doubts, just go with Cherki. He's still a fine FPL asset. And then the other two. I know a lot of people might not disagree with it, but Cole Palmer, he's going to be in. I think that's a lock. I think everyone agrees with that. We know his explosive potential. One thing that's surprising, by the way, against Manchester City, how hard he's working defensively. I know that's a part of the game that we don't normally associate with Cole Palmer, but you can see him getting DEFCON in one of these two games, considering how hard he's working right now. Because obviously, he's still fighting for a spot in that England starting 11 as well. Probably won't be in the starting 11, but you never know. And then I've gone with Enzo Fernandez. This is where it gets very, very tricky, because as you guys can see, the person on my bench is Tavernier. Tavernier or Enzo Fernandez. If we're looking at, again, Chelsea for this week, they're actually favourites to beat Manchester United. But obviously against Brighton have a slightly better chance. But overall, if we're looking at projected goals for this week, Chelsea projected 3.15 goals. That is still very, very good. Of course, Bournemouth is still at 3.1. You can argue Tavernier has penalties, but then Enzo Fernandez with a point to prove against Manchester United, who have Martinez out for this game. Maguire potentially could be out. So they're starting a backline of Euro and Heaven. That could be something that Chelsea look to exploit. And I think Enzo Fernandez with a point to prove. Chelsea need Champions League football. It just seems like the story that he'll just score or get an assist or something will come, good or bad, from Enzo Fernandez in these two games, because I expect him to be straight back into the starting 11. He's so important to that Chelsea side. And we've seen it. This guy is a minutes monster. He's obviously going to play both these games. So I think I would lean with Enzo Fernandez. Are there other plays that I was thinking about? I really, really like Aronson from Leeds from an FPL point of view. His underlying data is not horrible. He obviously, I think, got an assist yesterday as well against Manchester United. He's not a bad option to go with. I really, really don't mind him. But other than that, I think the midfield for me is pretty much set. Of course, you can go with Ampadu for DEFCON and stuff. But realistically, midfielders, do you really want to go with DEFCON midfielders on a free hit? No. Chance it. There's two games. You can go with plays that are much more explosive. Let's see in it. But that's how the midfield is looking like. Let's have a look at the attack. And then the attack, and I think this is pretty much self-explanatory. Erling Haaland, of course, is still going to be in. João Pedro is going to be in. And I'm going to go with Calvert-Lewin over the likes of Danny Welbeck, maybe even Nilsson. He's still getting plenty of chances. Even against Manchester United, he accumulated an extra of over 1. And that was from like 3 shots in the first half. Like, he will get chances. Whether he scores is a different story. But he's going to get chances. He's on penalties. Leeds still probably 1 win away from, let's say, confirmation that they're going to be in the Premier League. And listen, Wolves at home is a brilliant fixture. Bournemouth away is not a bad fixture, depending on, let's say, how Bournemouth perform, especially against Newcastle, regarding the Iraola news. Now, a lot of people might say, Baines, why maybe do you not differentiate maybe teams on a free hit, for example, going with a Brighton player, maybe going with a Burnley player? I think on a free hit, there's still a chance, like I said before, you can outscore wildcarders in 32 that are going to bench boost. There's still a chance, because realistically, wildcard teams in 32 are not going to have a Cherki. They're not going to have an Enzo Fernandez. They're not going to have, let's say, maybe, or their Leeds back line, for example, double up, is not going to be Darlow and Goodmanson. A lot of people obviously went with a Stroud, for example, or maybe a Beagle. There's still a chance you can take to obviously outscore it. And I think listen, having a couple, let's say, differentials, for example, a Cherky, Enzo Fernandez, I would risk it personally. I would risk it. Let me know what you guys think on this free hit. This is how I would line up personally. I know a lot of people might disagree. And I also think it depends on the position that you are right now in FPL. If you're chasing, obviously, go with the likes of Enzo, go with Cherky. If you're not, just play it safe, maybe with a Tavernier, who we know is going to get good minutes. Maybe he doesn't have, I was going to say higher of a ceiling, but I don't think that's the case. I think his ownership is obviously going to be a lot higher, let's say, in the general FPL community, let's say. But anyway, that's how my free hit team for 33 is looking like. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back tomorrow.